with many specifying the US United States happen.
5, 4, 3.
At stage 2 engine ignition. 1 minute 25 seconds till pressure hold. And we have ambulance 236 291 4229.
Hey guys, City Wall here, and welcome back to Mars. This episode, we're going to be working on a really big area in the upper part of the city. It's an arena slash casino slash hotel, really big, like maybe even convention center type thing. But before we get into that, I just wanted to mention, obviously this episode is much shorter than the average Mars episode. I'm trying something out. I'm not 100% sure if it's better or worse, but you know, making each one of these really long 30-minute plus episodes takes me probably like 15-20 full days of working in the city or editing or recording cinematics, and I just don't think that's 100% sustainable, especially if the world gets back to a more normal place. I want to be able to release episodes to you guys continually and regularly and not have it be like 3 months between an episode or something if, you know, life suddenly goes back to normal. So rather than doing like 3 or 4 builds per episode, I was thinking we start breaking up the episodes a little bit more, just do 1 build per episode. So this episode we're going to be building this giant walk arena. So this episode we're focusing on an area that's this really big chunk of land directly next to the main Walk Industries building right in the center of the city. It's got like the prison on one side of it and then this really big pipeline for the ice drilling area on another side of it, and it's definitely one of the largest chunks of like land without a street going through it in the whole city. And so I was thinking this area should have something in the upper area that would require that much space. It shouldn't be just like a bunch of little buildings, you know, it should be one really big thing. And I didn't know what this thing should be, so in a live stream I started out with that and we were trying to figure out what it should be. I apologize, it's probably the most boring live stream you've ever watched because we just placed down a bunch of concrete and really not a lot of anything, maybe some conveyor belts. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you can go watch that live stream. I'm not going to go into it here. And so I ended up with this, you know, really big flat area that was sitting directly on top of a whole bunch of kind of temporarily placed buildings, like not necessarily exactly what I thought was going to go there, but generally this is the height, this is the placement. When I did this, I added in a conveyor belt and a street that goes like through the center of this island so that it was similar to that other really large multi-level island from a few episodes ago where it was over the top of 2 different, you know, blocks of lower areas. So once I had this really big flat open space, it was like, okay, so what is going to be the really big thing that goes on this? And an idea that some people had in the live stream was to do a casino, which I thought was a pretty cool thing to do. I'd imagine the laws on Mars about gambling and any sort of thing like that would be pretty relaxed. And so I was browsing the workshop, I was looking for casino type assets or just like modern buildings that might work for this, downloaded some new stuff, and I just happened to see that this new arena came out. It's like a big sports arena and it's like super futuristic and cool looking, and I thought, okay, that could be a pretty cool addition to this place, maybe like MGM in Las Vegas where they got a casino slash arena type thing. Maybe this is like the biggest arena on Mars and it's a destination, like a reason why people in other colonies on Mars might take the Hyperloop and come here, you know, like for a big event or something. Maybe there's like a sports team here. I don't know what sports they could play on Mars in way lower gravity, but maybe there's some cool new Mars sports that are very popular. And so I placed this thing down and it comes with like all these other buildings attached to it, and it's all a bunch of like sub mesh buildings, like each little piece is a different part that came into the asset editor, and I didn't want all that. So what you can do sometimes, not all the time, is if you have the Rico mod and you open that up and look for this building, sometimes it comes with like a bunch of the pieces that make up the building as individual buildings, and you can place those into the game as their own unique Rico thing. So that's what I did. I made this just the arena part, not any of these auxiliary buildings, into its own Rico commercial building or whatever it was, and was able to place that down right in the middle of this huge upper island, which actually fit really perfectly. I love when that happens. It's unbelievable how well this fit into the space that I made. So after this building was down, the key thing about this was going to be making it into a procedural object so that I could assign it to a layer and turn on and off the layer, because I wanted this building to really have a lot of functionality, this whole complex. And to do that, I need to be utilizing the space inside of this building in order to make it really function the exact way that I want it to. I want people to enter and exit through like really big doors that I make and go to like events here. So I'm using the campus DLC college basketball service cubes, so that this is like a functioning stadium. I actually put two here, like in my mind, maybe one is, you know, sports and one is like a concert, and big waves of people show up for each of them. But in the game, obviously, they're both just college basketball. I made a network of pedestrian paths that enter and exit through these kind of doors that I made. So some of the pedestrian paths connect up to a bunch of parks and different entertainment block service cubes. Other ones connect to commercial ones, like for instance, if you were going to the concessions, that's what I was thinking, was there's a lot of concessions and business that happens inside of here. And then on the far side, there's a bunch of residential cubes that I put in here, because I'm imagining this casino is also a hotel, and a lot of people stay at the hotel, and that means that people, you know, maybe they don't live there, but they add population to the city. So on that far side of the arena, I started clipping together a bunch of different buildings in order to make a really big complex that was kind of attached to the arena. All those buildings, I used procedural objects and added them to that layer so that I could turn off and on those buildings, you know, visually, because there's a lot of stuff that I still want to do underneath all of this. One of those buildings is a really big, tall skyscraper that I was imagining was the hotel aspect of the casino. And so all up and down the sides of that, I put a bunch of blue lights, and those are ones that face both upwards and downwards. And that looked really cool, if you ask me. That's something that I'm going to probably maybe even go back and add on to a couple other skyscrapers around the city, because it really adds like a futuristic sort of feel. I also added in a really big hologram on the side of this building, and the stadium I thought could be a lot cooler than just the base version of it. It has these like slits going around the side. That's part of what makes it look very futuristic, and so inside of those are some kind of conventional windows, and I thought it would be cool to fill that up with the glowing cubes that I created so that it was really, really light up and shiny and had these strips of light. The roof of it I thought was pretty boring looking for how cool of a city we had. We had to do something to detail up the roof of this and make it look really cool. So I took a quick glance around Google Images, looking at a couple different stadiums, how they look at night, and Staples Center really stuck out to me as having a very cool, really big like logo on the top of the building and a bunch of little blue lights around. And so that's what I decided to do here. So I used some more light up glowing cubes, and also very meticulously, and took a really long time, made a perfect replica of the Walk Industries logo using just little cubes. I placed down a bunch of these little blue lights aimed upward in like kind of a very straight line sort of pattern over the whole entire top of it, and used a couple little tiny bollards or little round, I forget exactly what it is, but there were little things that I made a little bit bigger with PO, and that's kind of like the thing that maybe is the light. And then I placed down some red lights around the edge of the thing, kind of aimed downwards a little bit to kind of give the outside of it this nice red feel. Around the perimeter of the entire arena, I wanted to do some sort of like spotlights or really big lights aimed upwards, and so there's these really great ones that I also used around the central sorting exchange, and those I placed at some sort of interval around the edge, and they only really give light upwards, so I thought maybe we have to do something more conventional lights in between. So I made a little pole with some signs on it and put some lights that are, there's also some lights aimed upward there, but they're kind of more aimed at the building, and some downward lights as well to give the path some light. And so the last thing in this build was just detailing the area around the edge of this island, a path around the whole entire building and complex. The area that's like near the giant Walk Industries building, I thought could be a cool little, I know at a lot of stadiums they have little outdoor stages where maybe the announcers talk about the game after it happens, or where maybe there's like a pre-game concert or something like that. So I used the concerts DLC little stage thing here and made a little grassy area where people could congregate. Over the two doors, the entrances to the stadium, I have this really big sign that says The Link, which I think is a casino in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, but we're just calling that the name of this arena. I think this will be the Link Arena or whatever. And so there's a really big sign, a vertical one that I placed kind of towards the entrance here. And then on the other side of the island, around where the casino is, this area kind of bleeds into another build that we'll get to in a future episode underneath the casino. But out in front, basically what I wanted to do was create a version of like the Bellagio fountains where there's really big spurts of water coming up and it's a really big casino kind of like entranceway. And I wanted these fountains to have glass bottoms to them so that you could see through the water down to this build underneath it, so it wasn't completely covered up down there. So I placed down some glass props and some water surface props up above, and in between the two of them there's like a little pipe thing and like a spigot that I'd imagine is where the water gets pumped from. And then I used a bunch of these Kaminogi waterfall assets, flipped some of them upside down so the water was moving upwards, and made these kind of janky, I don't know if it's the best way to do this, but they're just like big water spouts sticking up from each of these little ponds. There's a couple trees and some grass and some bushes and a statue with some lights aimed up towards it that kind of completes this entire area. So that's about it for this build. It was obviously a really big one, and we're now left with an area underneath it that's equally big that needs to get built for the lower part of the city. So look forward to that in future episodes, and also look forward to 2 new guest builds in the city. So those will be coming soon. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all next time on Mars. Cities Skylines Mars tells the story of greed, lies, and broken dreams on the surface of the red planet. But this world-building project is too big for just one person. If you'd like to help create backstories for the places in this city, there's an entire wiki at your disposal, which you can get involved in by joining the City Walk City Wall Discord, linked in the description of this video. Another great way to get involved is by becoming a patron of the channel. Not only would you be directly helping to create this content, there's also tons of cool perks, including getting to see Mars episodes before everyone else, deeds to land in the city, buildings named in your honor, private live streams, and much more. The series wouldn't be what it is without your support, so again, huge thanks to all my patrons, mods, the Cities Skylines asset creators, and to you for watching this video. I'll see you all next time on Mars.